Bronny had a much better night. The USC freshman had 10 points and 3 assists to help the Trojans beat California. Bronny played 18 minutes off the bench. He remains on a minutes restriction until his medical staff gives him the okay to play longer. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
I have a dream.
On Friday, January 12th, as we head into Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. annual holiday weekend, KBLA Talk 1580 will announce a historic climate justice campaign aimed at California communities of color. KBLA Talk 1580 is joined in this historic effort by both public and private partners including LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, Cal Endow, the Sierra Club, and many other partners. There's a clear connection between Dr. King's moral conscience on the notion of reverence for all human life and the future of our world house. This year, on the MLK holiday weekend, KBLA assigns itself the task of elevating the climate conversation by amplifying the voices of those who are most impacted by the climate catastrophes we are witnessing in real time. Stay tuned for more details. At KBLA Talk 1580, Climate is King.
With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood.
I'm Tavis Smiley, and I am black and I'm proud, and I hope you are as well. And I am delighted to have a brilliant law professor as our guest in this hour to help us unpack the resignation letter of Claudine Gay at Harvard. We've been discussing this for days now, as you well know. She made history on her way in as the first African-American, the first black woman, the second woman, period, to be president of Harvard, made history coming in and made history going out, having served the shortest tenure of any president in the history of Harvard. And yesterday, Claudine Gay wrote, I think, a pretty powerful and provocative essay, an op-ed, for the New York Times. I'm going to read, to commence this conversation, just a piece of what she wrote in this op-ed in the Times yesterday. I encourage you to Google it and read it for yourself. You can follow along, act like we're at Bible study, and you can follow along as I read these few passages. But we'll start with some of her words from her piece, and then we will get to our conversation with noted Harvard law professor, our friend and brother, Randy Kennedy. Randall Kennedy is our guest. Brilliant professor, distinguished professor at Harvard, author of any number of best-selling, New York Times best-selling books. Just a brilliant brother all around, and I couldn't ask for a better guest to be on with us in this hour to unpack all of this than Randall Kennedy, whose voice you will hear in just a moment. Here now, just a few excerpts from the op-ed written by Claudine Gay, which is available everywhere in the New York Times on yesterday. The headline reads, Claudine Gay, what just happened at Harvard is bigger than me. On Tuesday, I made the wrenching but necessary decision to resign as Harvard's president. For weeks, both I and the institution to which I've devoted my professional life have been under attack. My character and intelligence have been impugned. My commitment to fighting anti-Semitism has been questioned. My inbox has been flooded with invective, including death threats. I've been called the N-word more times than I care to count. My hope is that by stepping down, I will deny demagogues the opportunity to further weaponize my presidency in their campaign to undermine the ideals animating Harvard since its founding: excellence, openness, independence, truth. As I depart, I must offer a few words of warning. The campaign against me was about more than one university and one leader. This was merely a single skirmish in a broader war to unravel public faith in pillars of American society. Campaigns of this kind often start with attacks on education and expertise because these are the tools that best equip communities to see through propaganda. But such campaigns don't end there. Trusted institutions of all types, from public health agencies to news organizations, will continue to fall victim to coordinated attempts to undermine their legitimacy and ruin their leaders' credibility. For the opportunist driving cynicism about our institutions, no single victory or toppled leader exhausts their zeal. Close quote. Those just a few of the opening paragraphs in this piece authored by Claudine Gay, entitled "What Just Happened at Harvard is Bigger Than Me," available everywhere in the New York Times on yesterday. That said, Randall Kennedy, let me just get started here. First of all, it's good to hear your voice again. It's been too long. Happy New Year, my friend. How are you?
I'm well. Happy New Year. And as for how am I am deeply saddened.
Yeah.
Because of what you've been talking about.
Yeah. Let me do this. I'm looking at my clock here, and if I let you get going, I'll have to cut you off in about a minute. So when we come forward, now that you've heard some of the words in this op-ed from Claudine Gay, obviously we've all been following this story. We've been talking about it here ad nauseum, ad infinitum. You've heard my take on it. I am so curious. Of course, I have a sense of what he's going to say, but I am so curious to hear what Randall Kennedy has to say about this. And this is really important to me because I wanted to go inside of Harvard. And there are any number of folks who I, of course, have known at Harvard for years, personal friends, Skip Gates and Randall Kennedy, and I could just run the list of all kinds of folk I know at Harvard who I could have called upon, but Randall Kennedy is the one that I wanted. I'm glad I got him. And you're going to hear from him for the rest of the hour when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley. Ranked number 45 on the Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time-to-talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Oh, this cold.
Honey?
Honey?
Honey, you need DayQuil Severe Honey.
DayQuil Severe Honey gives you powerful cold and flu symptom relief with a honeylicious taste, because life doesn't stop for a cold.
Okay, I'm ready to go.
Now I'm getting a cold.
Honey.
Try DayQuil Severe Honey for powerful cold and flu relief. DayQuil Severe with honey flavor. The daytime coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever, honeylicious, power through your day medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Granddad, what's good?
Hey there, got us a quarter pounder with cheese and McNuggets.
Wow, haven't had our special McDonald's order in a minute.
Heard your little tic-tac-toe dance didn't get no likes.
Oh, man, is Mom telling everybody?
You know she is.
There's a deal for every favorite grandson at McDonald's. Right now, get one favorite like a Quarter Pounder with cheese or 10-piece chicken McNuggets and get another for just $1. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer. Valid for item of equal or lesser value.
Let's get back to more of Tavis Smiley right now.
All right, Randall Kennedy at Harvard Law. I have had my say, and I want to hear from you in this hour. As I said moments ago, I wanted to go directly inside of Harvard and talk to one who's been on that campus for many, many years, doing some pretty amazing work, known around the country. But I specifically wanted to talk to somebody black. Not that one black professor at Harvard Law speaks for everybody black on the campus, but I wanted to get your take on this. And I asked you how you were doing. You said Happy New Year, but I am saddened by what we've been talking about. Let me turn my microphone off, turn yours on, and tell me why you are so saddened.
I'm saddened because President Gay and Harvard University have been victimized by a well-orchestrated campaign of misinformation and intimidation. She is right when she says that what's going on is bigger than her and bigger than Harvard. This is part of the ongoing struggle over American culture. And what we have here is a tremendous victory for the right wing in America.
When you say tremendous victory for the right wing in America, unpack that for me. We got the hour, so take your time, man. You can act like I'm in your class at Harvard, man. Take your time and unpack it for me. So you say tremendous victory for the right. Give it to me, Randall.
Okay, it's not just the right, but primarily the right. And let's go to a very central episode in this whole tragic story. Her testimony before Congress. She is testifying before a committee. This committee says that it's investigating anti-Semitism on campus. It wasn't investigating anti-Semitism on campus. It had already determined what they said that they were supposedly investigating. They had already come to the conclusion that there was their conclusion was that there was rampant anti-Semitism, and they wanted to hang that around the necks of these college presidents, including Claudine Gay, and that was sort of their line of attack. And so what they do is they talk with Claudine Gay and they set her up, essentially. I mean, it was a hit. They said, for instance, that, don't you agree that there's certain words, certain terms that people use, pro-Palestinian advocates use, that are tantamount to genocide? That's the laying the trap. And then once the Congresswoman Stefanik sort of says that, then she says, well, aren't there people who are using these terms? And then she says, well, to the extent that there are people who are using these terms, aren't they basically demanding or championing genocide of Jews and the destruction of Israel? And if there are people who were saying that, isn't that a violation of policy at Harvard? Now, here's the important thing. The key clip that is shown over and over is Congresswoman Stefanik saying, if somebody calls for genocide of Jews at Harvard, is that a violation of Harvard policy? And President Gay says, well, it depends on the context. Now, a lot of people have said, that was a terrible answer. That was a legalistic answer. That was a tone-deaf answer. In my view, no. She was asked a very precise question. She's in Congress. She's the president of the university. She's asked a question. If a student says this, or if a person on Harvard's campus says this, a person who's a member of the Harvard community, if a person on the Harvard community says this, is that a violation of policy? Meaning, if it is a violation of policy, I suppose that means that they're subject to punishment. They're subject to discipline. President Gay responds by saying, well, that all depends. That was a very careful answer, but it seems to me that it was the proper answer. Her critics wanted her, or at least some of them wanted her to pander. They wanted her to say something that, could appear on television and everybody would, or a lot of people would say, okay, that's the right answer. Instead of doing that, she answered like an academic. By the way, what is she? She's an academic. She's the president of a university, and what she did, she took that question very seriously, maybe too seriously, but she took the question very seriously, and now people are saying that it was a disastrous answer. That's one of the misleading aspects of this. Let me go to another one. Maybe a more controversial claim. It's now the case that people are. It has become accepted. It has become accepted that anti-Semitism is rampant at Harvard University. No, it is not. No, it is not. Are you going to tell me that Harvard University, whose president, by the way, Larry Bacow, a wonderful president of the university, Larry Bacow, Jewish, observant, are you going to tell me that he was presiding over an institution where anti-Semitism was rampant? Take a look at the Harvard University. There are Jewish people across Harvard University, on the faculty, in the administration, a very substantial, distinguished presence. You're going to tell me that this is a place where anti-Semitism is rampant? No, it's not. But that line has become established. And here, I guess I must say I'm somewhat critical of President Gay, because President Gay, I'm sure she was under pressure, tremendous pressure. When this allegation is made, she sort of accedes to it. And in fact, she created a committee which essentially substantiates this claim of so-called rampant anti-Semitism at Harvard. Not established, and from what I can tell, not true. And that too has become a part of the, in my view, false narratives that have led us to where we are.
Let me cut in right quick, Professor Kennedy. Professor Kennedy.
Yeah.
I think I followed your point. I just want to make sure that I have some clarity here. I think your point is, as I hear it, that your critique of her on this particular issue is that by acceding to that false claim, she gives life to that narrative rather than stomping on that thing like you just did with evidence and saying it's not true. Anti-Semitism is not run amok on this campus. So your point is that by acceding to it, she aids and abets that narrative. Did I get that right?
You did get that right,
okay.
And frankly, I think that President Gay, and I've been a supporter of President Gay, and I still support President Gay.
Sure.
And you'll notice I'm still calling her President Gay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that she actually backed up all too often. I think she apologized too much. She apologized for her testimony in Congress. As far as I'm concerned, she didn't have anything to apologize for. She said over and over and over again that she finds any sort of anti-Semitism personally abhorrent. as she should, because it is abhorrent. And she said that. And any fair listener would have gotten that. There was nothing for her to apologize for. If she wanted to, accentuate what she had said, fine. But I think that people ought to be very careful in apologizing. By all means, apologize if you have something to apologize for. But if you don't, it seems to me, don't apologize. She ought not to have.
Let me jump in. This is getting good, as we say around here, Professor Candy. It's getting good. Let me jump in here, because this is a conversation that every Negro I know has had, and we're going to have it on national radio. We've had it in our private spaces, but I want to bring it out into the forefront here. I don't know a black person who has not had a conversation over the last few years about black folk and all these apologies. And I want to be careful here, because don't want to get ourselves in any trouble here, but I do want to speak the truth. This has been particularly true over the last few years when it comes to the Jewish question. I don't need to run the list of all the names. Y'all know the names as you listen to Randy Candy and Tavis Smiley right now. But particularly when it comes to the Jewish question, a lot of black people have gotten themselves in trouble saying this, that, or the other. And they start genuflecting almost immediately. To your point, if you've done something or said something wrong, then you ought to apologize. Absolutely. But the broader question I'm raising here as we audit your class at Harvard Law for this hour, the broader question I'm asking you, Professor Candy, is what it is, and you wrote the book, nigga. We talked about that book when you wrote it years ago. What is it about black folk that makes us, that leads us, that causes us, that compels us, you pick the word, to be so apologetic, to genuflect, even when we don't have to, as Malcolm would say, to scratch when it don't itch and to laugh when it ain't funny?
Well, I think it's a complicated thing, and I want to emphasize a point before I go on.
Mm-hmm.
I detest prejudice, any sort of prejudice,
indeed,
against Jews, against any group based on who they are. I am totally against base prejudice, racial, religious, national. You have it.
Indeed.
I want that to be out and out clear. I have said that many times throughout my career. I'm saying it now. Now, to answer your question directly, I think that the apology, over apologizing comes from a lot of different places. One place is a good, one thing. I think people want to be very decent people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Claudine Gay is a very decent person. And so when you have, when you say something and then somebody sort of jumps in your face and they're angry and you know them, you
mm-hmm.
like them, and they're angry at you, I think for a lot of people, the first, impulse is to want to apologize. Why? Because you're a nice person, you're a decent person, you're a courteous person. You don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. And so I think that part of the impulse to apologize comes from a very good place. You want to be a decent person. So that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's another part of it, which is people are, prone to apologize when they get scared.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you have powerful interests, powerful forces, powerful figures who are coming after you, they say, you said this and you ought not have said this, and, you better mend your ways or else. Well, people get nervous and they backtrack, even if, they oughtn't, but they do. And I think that, was that part of it? Sure, that was part of it. You had, the news media, you had all sorts of figures, political figures, other, important figures in our culture who were coming after her, saying that what she had done had shown indifference to anti-Jewish prejudice. and she was made nervous by that, and that's understandable. But I think it was in light of that she sort of went into this apologetic posture, even though, as I say, I don't think there was any reason for her having to do that.
I got 2 minutes here. We'll continue when we come forward. But in these next 2 minutes here, I read a piece of her op-ed, of course, for the New York Times yesterday. What did you make of her written piece yesterday?
I thought it was a strong written piece. I think there is a question. Should she have stepped down? I mean, she said she stepped down because she didn't want to be a distraction. I understand that impulse. On the other hand, I could have, I could have seen an alternative way of handling this, which is stay in there and fight. And if you're going to be ousted, okay, let them take me out. I'm resistant to the idea of taking yourself out.
Yeah. There are a couple of questions here. I want to come to that. This notion of fighting, staying and fighting, and what might have happened had she done that. That's what I want to probe. One, what might have happened had she stayed to fight, number one. Number two, I want to ask when we come forth, Professor Kennedy, how you view this question that many are debating about the stain, as some people put it, that this has on black academics, that she gave black academics, pardon the pun, a black eye writ large. Thirdly, inside the Harvard community, I want to get your take on what it means and how you all are processing. As I said earlier, that she made history coming in, but made history going out. What does it mean? How do you process the fact that the shortest tenured president in the history of this institution happens to be a black woman? I want to ask your take on gender. What role you think gender, say nothing of the fact that she's a black woman, but what role has gender played in this process? A great deal more to talk about, some more queries I have for Harvard Law Professor Randall Kennedy when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Seeking the truth. Speaking the truth. This is the Tavis Smiley Show.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The State Department says it is not seeing acts of genocide in the Gaza Strip. Spokesperson Matthew Miller made the comment Wednesday after South Africa launched genocide proceedings against Israel in the International Court of Justice. Miller said such allegations should not be made lightly. In Alabama, dozens of black Decatur residents who claim they have been arrested or mistreated during months of demonstrations over the fatal officer-involved shooting of Stephen Perkins met with attorneys yesterday to determine their futures. Court records show that since the death of Perkins on September 29th, more than 30 people have been arrested while participating in protests. The purpose of the meetings were to explore possible civil lawsuits against the city and the police department. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers won their fourth straight. They went into Phoenix last night and won by 9. 33 points for Paul George, 30 for Kawhi Leonard. James Harden had 22 points and 11 assists. The Clippers are 9 games over 500. They are 13-2 since December 1st. Things are not getting any better for the Lakers. They lose at home to Miami last night by 14. The Lakers have lost 3 in a row and fell below 500 for the first time since November 10th. A rough night for LeBron. He was 6 of 18 from the floor and finished with 12 points. LeBron's son Bronny had a much better night. The USC freshman had 10 points and 3 assists to help the Trojans beat California. Bronny played 18 minutes off the bench. He remains on a minutes restriction until his medical staff gives him the okay to play longer. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like the style, though.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Single Moms Planet is a nonprofit organization dedicated to uplifting under-resourced single mom business owners and working mothers nationwide. Single Moms Planet offers comprehensive programs of financial literacy, business development, mentorship, and entrepreneurial training. They provide education, accountability, and hope. Single Moms Planet was founded by model, TV personality, and producer Nefertiri Plessy. Nefertiri felt firsthand the challenges that face single moms as she was raised by a working single mother. She learned that the most disadvantaged group in the United States are single mom families. According to the U.S. Census, 30% live under the poverty line. So she decided to do something about it, along with co-founder Cole Patterson. Their goal is to end the poverty cycle in single mother households through education, opportunity, and networking, providing family and child enrichment programs for under-resourced single-parent families. Single Moms Planet serves over 10,000 single moms and their children each year. Studies show that business development and financial literacy provide a positive environment for children and families, exposing them to new possibilities and opportunities. To attend one of their fun events, make a donation, or get more information, or if you need help as a single mom, please visit singlemomsplanet.org. That's singlemomsplanet.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
He's rooting for everybody black. More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
More of distinguished Harvard Law Professor Randall Kennedy coming your way right now as we talk about the resignation of Claudine Gay. Powerful and provocative piece she wrote for the New York Times yesterday. You can find it online everywhere. The headline, Claudine Gay, What Just Happened at Harvard is Bigger Than Me. Again, delighted to have for the rest of this hour, Randall Kennedy from the Harvard Law School. Watching my time, Professor Kennedy, let me run through a few things I want to get your take on right quick. Number one, you said moments ago that there was a different way to handle this. She could have chosen to stay and fight. That's what I would have done. Clearly, that's what you would have done. I'm like you. I don't think she had a whole lot to apologize for. We'll get to some other things, though, in just a second, including the plagiarism accusations. But the point is, she could have stayed and fought. Had she stayed and fought, when you and I both know, clearly they put a target on her back. I've asked this question more than once, rhetorically, how we went from so-called anti-Semitism to plagiarism. There's a story just in that. Clearly, you take my point. They were determined to get her by any means necessary. So had she stayed and fought, what might have happened?
Oh, there was clearly they were going to continue. Listen, the forces arrayed against her were completely ruthless. They've got a lot of institutional backing. You know, they were going to continue, and so there was going to be a cost. But you know, Harvard University is a pretty substantial institution.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to, you know, I mean, what better place to make a stand?
Mm.
What institution is better placed to show that higher institutions of higher education are not going to be cowed, are not going to be intimidated, are not going to allow themselves to be manipulated by outside forces. And if that costs something, well, you know, lots of good things in life cost something.
Mm.
So if it had cost Harvard University something, so be it. I would have preferred, you know, I would have preferred staying. And by the way, maybe going on radio, or for that matter, going on television,
mm-hmm.
you know, buying time. Here is what our position is.
Mm-hmm.
We think that the public has been misled. Here is the way we see it. Fight it. I would have preferred that.
I asked again a moment ago, not at all rhetorically, how we went from anti-Semitism claims to plagiarism claims. I noted yesterday, I note again today, you already know this, of course, that the student newspaper, the Crimson at Harvard, fine newspaper, in their editorial, suggested that she ought not be forced to resign over these plagiarism allegations because it was kind of, as they put it, sloppy plagiarism, in that there were such a number of citations that should have been there that weren't. But it wasn't the worst, the ugliest kind of just lifting people's stuff, copying people's stuff, and acting like it's your own. So the student newspaper, the student said that she should not have been forced out of that position. How did you read these plagiarism claims?
The enemies of Claudine Gay and the enemies of Harvard made a mountain out of a molehill.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people are focused on her dissertation.
Mm-hmm.
Her dissertation. That was a little while ago. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're talking about. They made it seem as though she has been recently involved in some serious academic misdoing. Not true.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there was some sloppiness, but what we're talking about is something which is trivial. You're absolutely right. There is nothing I have seen indicating that she was trying to pass off somebody else's idea as her own, somebody else's information as her own. That's what plagiarism should really mean.
Yeah.
This stuff that they were talking about, like I said, it's a molehill. But they were successful in making a mountain out of it, and you were absolutely right. They were going to continue. They were going to continue to attack her with anything.
Yeah, sure.
Had she? By the way, Was she slow in paying a parking ticket?
Yeah, did you jaywalk, something like that? I mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah. They weren't going to stop. And that, as I read her piece in the Times, my sense was that she didn't want any more of that. She didn't want any more of that. She didn't want to be called the N-word. I don't like the N-word. They didn't call her the N-word. They called her a nigger. She didn't want to be called a nigger anymore. She didn't want any more death threats. I get that. And for her own self-health, maybe she made the right decision. That's up to her. But this other question, though, I want to get to right quick is whether or not you believe, as some have suggested, that this gives a black eye, again, pardon the pun, to black academics, black scholars.
Well, yeah. It's certainly, listen, again, one of the reasons why I really have a heavy heart, I'm deeply saddened by this. Here we have a situation, yes, right. The first black president of Harvard University has now been laid low and, has the shortest reign as the president. I think that there are going to be people who are going to say, told you so. There are going to be people who are going to be winking at one another. One of the lines that was used, of course, to attack her was, she's a woman. You asked about gender. Of course gender had something to do with this. Of course gender. And a black woman, there were people saying, she's okay, but, she oughtn't be in charge of things. And now she's been laid low, and there are going to be people who are going to be saying, told you so. They're going to view this as a substantiation of the claim that, these people are okay, but they're not really at the top. They shouldn't really be at the top. And I think there are going to be some people who are going to see her ouster as a substantiation of those sorts of claims. So does this hurt the standing, the collective reputation of black academics? The answer is yes. Of course it does.
Let me ask a quick question, and I want to delve into this when we come forward. My quick question right now is remind me and the audience how long your association with Harvard at this point has existed, Professor Kennedy.
I came to Harvard in the summer of 1984. I've been here for a while.
Okay. Summer of 1984. I want to ask, when we come forward, among other things I want to get to, of all the race issues that we've seen play out at Harvard, and there have been any number of them, including Skip Gates and the drama that landed him in the Rose Garden at the White House with the president having a beer. The Cornel West matter comes to mind with Larry Summers. The matter of Ronald Sullivan comes to mind. So many race issues on the campus of Harvard, just in your tenure since 1984, and Derek Bell. Derek Bell comes to mind at the Harvard Law School. I mean, this stuff better than I do. I'm just talking on top of my head, stuff that I know. But I want you to situate for me in this race frame, if you will, how you see this versus all these other race issues that you've seen in your own time at Harvard. I want to ask you as well when we come forward about how you see this notion of free speech on college campuses. Our guest is a distinguished Harvard Law Professor Randall Kennedy. You're listening to him right now, and I'm glad about it, on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on! What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than choosing to keep the Grinch away from the toy drive.
Who's going to deliver the toys to the kids?
What about me, the Grinch?
No.
Yep, even easier than that.
You steal the presents one time.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Capital One NA, member FDIC. Copyright Dr. Seuss Enterprises. Copyright Turner Entertainment
We're
Company.
from Washington. We love Febrez's new scent. Refresh and energize.
So much we made a song about it.
On Friday, January 12th, as we head into Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. annual holiday weekend, KBLA Talk 1580 will announce a historic climate justice campaign aimed at California communities of color. KBLA Talk 1580 is joined in this historic effort by both public and private partners including LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, Cal and Dow, the Sierra Club, and many other partners. There's a clear connection between Dr. King's moral conscience on the notion of reverence for all human life and the future of our world house. This year, on the MLK holiday weekend, KBLA assigns itself the task of elevating the climate conversation by amplifying the voices of those who are most impacted by the climate catastrophes we are witnessing in real time. Stay tuned for more details. At KBLA Talk 1580, Climate is king.
With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
So let me just ask you point blank, Professor Kennedy. I'm thinking about Du Bois and all that he went through to be the first African American to get a PhD at Harvard, and all that I've read about that over the years. Let me just ask you point blank: Are Negroes, are black folk welcome at Harvard? I listed all the things that came to my mind about these racial skirmishes, and that may not be a strong enough word, but you've been there since '84. Do you feel welcome at Harvard?
Yes, I feel welcome at Harvard.
Okay.
I absolutely do. I've been here since the summer of 1984. I have had a wonderful time at Harvard. It has been a very supportive workplace. I would urge anybody who's interested in a career in academia. I think this is a wonderful community. Mm-hmm. You mentioned before the break, there was one person's name that you mentioned that I must say caught me up. Derek Bell.
Yes.
Remember, Derek Bell left Harvard University. He left Harvard University, the law school, because he threw down an ultimatum. Mm-hmm. He said, I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave unless you appoint a black woman to the tenure track at Harvard Law School. And that did not happen, and he left. Mm-hmm. At this moment, I must say, I'm thinking of Derek Bell and, his spirit, and I'm sure, what would he be saying at this moment? This is a terrible moment. Mm-hmm. I do think that Harvard, it's very disturbing that it has allowed itself to be upended in this way by demagogues, and that's bad. And it should examine itself and be better prepared to engage in these sorts of struggles. But to answer your question, no, I've had a wonderful time at Harvard University, and I feel most welcome here.
Let me add very quickly this Derek Bell story. I know this well. I was just in New York not too long ago with his widow. Brilliant, and we spent some time talking about this, and she reminded me, and this conversation is coming back to me right quick, just to put a finer point on the Derek Bell story. You told it brilliantly. He did, in fact, leave Harvard. over a black woman not being tenured. Of course, Lonnie Guinier ended up being tenured later, of course,
Yes.
as a black woman professor at Harvard Law. So that in part happens because Derek Bell threw down the gauntlet and left and went to New York. But he also did that earlier in his career at Oregon. He left Oregon Law School. You know this story well. He left Oregon Law School over an Asian woman they would not give tenure to. So Derek Bell is a bad brother, and I only underscore that because it makes your point that sometimes you got to stand and fight. I believe that when we fight, we win. And again, Claudine Gay is entitled to make her own decision. She's made it, and God bless her, and she's going to be okay. Got a nice buyout, and she still got tenure and will still teach at Harvard. And so Claudine Gay is going to be all right, trust and believe. But I take your point that she could have stayed and fought. I would have stayed and fought. You would have stayed and fought. Derek Bell, again, just reminds us that sometimes you have to stand in your truth. And because Harvard wouldn't do right by black women, he rolled out. And because Oregon law wouldn't do right by an Asian woman, he rolled out. That kind of courage and conviction and commitment character rather, is rare. And I'm glad you reminded us of the legacy of one Derek Bell. By the way, the father of CRT, which is under attack every day, that Derek Bell, we celebrate him right now. You're talking, I'm talking to Randall Kennedy at Harvard Law. We'll wrap our conversation when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey LA, save water and put money in your pocket with rebates from LADWP. Start saving with free shower heads and faucet aerators. Then save with every flush when you upgrade to a water-efficient toilet and get a $250 rebate. You can also save on every load of laundry with a high-efficiency clothes washer and get a $500 rebate. That's right, LADWP customers can get $500 rebates on qualifying clothes washers. See all the ways to save at ladwp.com/save.
helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Professor Randall Kennedy, I deeply appreciate your time in this hour. I know you have a full schedule, but to give me an hour of your time to talk about this has meant a great deal to me and to this audience. You're always so kind to receive my phone call and accept my invitations, and I thank you once again. In the 2.5 minutes I have left, let me close on this because this is the frame that they want, the political right want to put this in. Red herring though it may be, what is your view of the state of free speech on college campuses?
At Harvard University, people can speak freely for the most part. Are there some problems? Of course there's some problems. You get thousands of people together, you're going to have problems. But this idea that the campuses are, under some sort of liberal orthodoxy that's, preventing conservatives, preventing centrists from speaking, that too is a false narrative. And by the way, the right wing is talking about how liberals are being tyrants on campus. They're not talking about the many states that have passed laws preventing things from being taught in school. They're not talking about the banning of books in many states, these book bannings, these bannings of teachings, this anti-CRT campaign that comes from the right. They're not talking about that, are they? Mm-hmm. We need to be really clear about what's going on. And I applaud you, Tavis, for trying to contribute to public education that is so needed, it's especially needed in this year. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
American democracy is at risk right now in the most serious way. We need everybody to be on board, to be alert, to be active, to be voting. We need that right now.
I will leave it there right now. That's our program for today. Professor Kennedy, thank you for your time, sir. I'll talk to you soon, my friend. All the best to you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Lord willing, back here tomorrow to do it all over again. Tomorrow's Friday already. First week almost up in this new year. So the best of Tavis Smiley tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in today and all week long. And a great show tomorrow. You'll hear 3 great conversations that you might have missed earlier this week. But until tomorrow, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The State Department says it is not seeing acts of genocide in the Gaza Strip. Spokesperson Matthew Miller made the comment Wednesday after South Africa launched genocide proceedings against Israel in the International Court of Justice. Miller said such allegations should not be made lightly. In Alabama, dozens of Black Decatur residents who claim they have been arrested or mistreated during months of demonstrations over the fatal officer-involved shooting of Stephen Perkins met with attorneys yesterday to determine their futures. Court records show that since the death of Perkins on September 29th, more than 30 people have been arrested while participating in protests. The purpose of the meetings were to explore possible civil lawsuits against the city and the police department. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
When the Rams and 49ers meet up on Sunday for the final regular season game, the game could be meaningless. Both teams have secured a playoff spot, and both teams are planning to rest key players. The Rams said quarterback Matthew Stafford and running back Kyrie Williams will be inactive Sunday. At the moment, the Rams are the number 6 seed in the NFC playoffs. The 49ers are number 1. 4 Rams players have been chosen for the Pro Bowl. Stafford, Williams, defensive end Aaron Donald, and wide receiver Puka Nacua. Linebacker Khalil Mack and wide receiver Keenan Allen are the only Chargers players going to the Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl is February 4th in Orlando. 2 very alarming stats from the Lakers' loss to Miami last night. They made only 4 of 30 three-point shots and committed 22 turnovers. If this trend continues, some major changes are on the way. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, pursuing justice through participatory democracy. Listen to KBLA Talk 1580 Saturday morning, January 13th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for an exclusive forum featuring the candidates for LA County District Attorney. Join KBLA's Tavis Smiley as he helps navigate what promises to be a forum full of fire when the candidates trying to unseat current LA DA George Gascon come together on stage on the campus of the Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science. Again, it's the LA County District Attorney Forum, live, exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580, Saturday morning, January 13th, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Helping to raise your civic IQ. We're KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Welcome forward now. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable. I am your host, Lynn Richardson, here on KBLA Talk 1580, and we are creating millionaires, one family at a time, one day at a time, $1 at a time, and one dime at a time, and that means you.
So I'm going to talk to you about the single most important thing that you need if you're trying to get from where you are to where you're trying to go. Yes, you need faith. Yes, you need belief. Yes, you need to stick to it, but you have to have discipline. And a lot of us who are successful, a lot of people who have achieved certain things in life, we have mistaken discipline for control. You see, it took me about 20 years of being in my business to realize that what I thought was discipline, what other people said was discipline, what the world looked at as discipline. They'd say, Lynn, you built this. You must have a lot of discipline. Lynn, you're the most disciplined person that I know. Lynn, discipline, discipline, discipline. But secretly, I knew deep within that I did not have any discipline at all, that what I had was control. You see, control and discipline are two different things. Control is what the world sees. Control manifests the business. Control will manifest maybe the weight loss. Control will manifest many of the things that externally the world can see. But discipline is the thing that only you and God can see. Discipline is the stuff that nobody really knows. Discipline is where you cannot take any shortcuts. So I'm going to say to everybody out there who has built anything, who has anything, those of us who are self-starters, we are motivators, especially a lot of us women, we make it happen no matter what. At the end of the day, we're going to get to the end. We're going to get the child the money that they need for school. We're going to make sure our kid, my grandmother would make sure I got to the cheerleading competitions on a cleaning lady's salary and an 8th grade education. You know, she had control. But what about discipline? What about the things that we are doing on a daily basis to get where we're trying to go? Let me explain this to you. If you have a discrepancy, if you have a gap between discipline and control, I